Hello, and welcome back to the Ladies Wrestling Grio podcast. It is great to be back. This has been an exciting week in women's wrestling. Well, I should probably say the past 2 weeks because we're kind of connecting all the great stuff that happened this week and then the awesome things that happened this past weekend in wrestling that just really made me have to sit back for a minute, really absorb everything that I saw, and kind of create what this episode was going to be about. Because honestly, I kind of had like a set trajectory on what I was going to talk about this month for the Ladies Wrestling Grio podcast. But I mean, this month is kind of writing itself, and there's just some things that you can't just miss the opportunity to talk about because as it's happening in live time, you just have to document it because it's just really good stuff. It's a great time, a great few months to be a wrestling fan, especially obviously I love men's wrestling, but it's a great time right now to be a women's wrestling fan because I think honestly, I think the emphasis over the past few years with this women's revolution has been to really show that women can really pull it off with amazing athleticism in the ring. And that's still, of course, at the forefront. But I think that a lot of women are really getting amazing at telling these awesome stories and creating these great feuds that last on. So that has been really great to see over these past few months. So that leads me into how I kind of changed my idea of what I wanted to do this week with the podcast episode. And I just want to jump right into it because it's just so good. I want to talk about Mercedes Mone and her amazing journey so far in New Japan Pro Wrestling, but not just that, just this overall feeling that Mercedes has about dominating the women's wrestling scene and making it clear that no one really knows where she's going to go next. And this is just one stop on her world tour. So let's talk about this first stop, because as someone who really loves the history and the present state of Joshi wrestling, this was very exciting for me to see someone as talented, as decorated, and as passionate about the wrestling business, but specifically about women's wrestling, like Mercedes, actually really fulfill this dream that she has had to wrestle in Japan. This has been, I feel, done correctly. It has really, I feel, possibly opened the eyes of a lot of American female wrestling fans that may not know how much Joshi wrestling has done for women in the business, and to me, how is a safe haven over maybe 40 decades of wrestling, great women's wrestling that has come from Japan, and how we're actually catching up to the great angles, the great feuds, the tremendous athleticism that I think is just unparalleled. And that bar has been set since the late 70s with the women's wrestling in Japan. That I think many times gets slept on. And I think that, and this usually happens, and there's nothing wrong with it, especially if you're not from that country, that many times it might take someone that you're a huge fan of to go there and open your eyes to what other wrestling might be around. And I think that Mercedes coming over there and really making it clear that she's been a big fan of not only Joshi wrestling, but also the men's wrestling in Japan, and coming through with such a prestigious and stable Japanese wrestling company like New Japan, is really getting a lot of eyes on the history of women's wrestling in Japan. And as a big fan of Joshi wrestling, this makes me really excited. But for this episode, we strictly want to stick to Mercedes Mone's journey in New Japan. As we know, over the past year, because I think it started maybe late 2021, New Japan Pro Wrestling has been making strides with having a working relationship, cross promotion with the Joshi All Women's Promotion, Stardom, and they have really been having some great events with using the women on the New Japan promotion shows, excuse me. And one of those cross promotion ideas was to create the IWGP Women's Title, and to me, it started off great with having the inaugural champion be Kyrie. I think that she is really a beacon of light on the Stardom roster, which is filled with amazing women. But I think she truly is a leader on that roster. And I was very excited to see her hold the IWGP title and to be the first to do that, because I really feel that setting a proper foundation for a title as you're trying to establish it is extremely important. And I think that Kyrie was the best choice for that. But as we saw, when Kyrie was established as this champion, it wasn't too long after that that Mercedes Mone wanted to challenge for that title. And she challenged for it at Wrestle Kingdom 17. So let's kind of start there, where we're going to talk about their journey leading all the way to Mercedes winning the championship. We had all been on the sidelines and we were completely shocked when Sasha Banks and Naomi left WWE. It was very abrupt. Of course, we're not behind the scenes, so we still don't have a clue as to what exactly happened or what led up to both of these women, extremely talented, extremely successful in WWE, being at the top of the ladder in the company for the women's division, and they decided to abruptly leave. No one knew what their future would hold, what decisions they would make on if they wanted to stay in WWE, if they wanted to even still be involved in wrestling. And our imaginations got the best of us over a span of 9 months to try to figure out what exactly was going to happen with them. Many times you would see before any major pay-per-view the rumblings that maybe Naomi or Sasha was backstage and that they might be popping up. I know a lot of people were expecting, specifically in this case during a Royal Rumble, for possibly Naomi to show up. I think there's still hope in people's minds that that could possibly happen at WrestleMania. A lot of people thought that more than likely they could possibly, both women, Sasha and Naomi, could possibly make an AEW appearance. But as we've seen as of now, none of those things happen. So when we heard the announcement that formerly known as Sasha Banks, Mercedes would be appearing at Wrestle Kingdom 17, it was a surprise, but at the same time, I wasn't completely shocked, because even when Mercedes was in WWE, she would go and train in Japan. When she had her big break, she took time off in WWE just to clear her mind. I'm assuming possibly even needed time to figure out what it was that she still loved about wrestling a few years ago. She went to Japan. She got a lot of lucha training too, outside of the Japanese training that she received. And she really took to that experience of going to Japan and just really getting back to the roots of why she loves pro wrestling. And it seemed like it really ignited a new passion in Mercedes. So it wasn't surprising that this would be the first stop on her world tour. I know that I was very excited to see what Mercedes was going to do at this Wrestle Kingdom event, especially because I have been a huge fan of Wrestle Kingdom for a long time. So it's pretty exciting to see this female presence within the pay-per-view. So we know leading into Wrestle Kingdom that Mercedes was going to debut. We didn't know what capacity or what exactly she was going to do. I think that it was probably a lot of nervous bubbles in Mercedes' tummy, just thinking about how people were going to take this new revamped version of her. And I guess Mercedes knew we were going to be thinking about what was going through her head leading to this appearance, because days before the Battle in the Valley pay-per-view, Mercedes was nice enough to grace her fans with a behind-the-scenes look into her preparation, her journey into this Wrestle Kingdom 17 event, which she has now, that is available on her YouTube channel. So I would definitely recommend you guys check it out. I have watched it and I'm really happy I did, because it gave a different insight more into how Mercedes the person feels going into this, not the overconfident character, but how Mercedes was, what was her mental state during this time leading up to this appearance. And you could see at the beginning of, I would say, this mini documentary into this journey going to New Japan, that she was a ball of nerves as she prepared to embark on this journey as an ex WWE star that's really dipping her toes into the world of Joshi wrestling, that would start at such a renowned event as Wrestle Kingdom. It's really now known as the event where the best wrestlers, the best pro wrestlers in the world, come to compete, and they are chosen to be able to be on this card. So it's definitely not for the faint of heart, you know. And I think that Mercedes completely understood that, and I think that that's what caused her to be extremely nervous about making her debut back into wrestling at this event. And before her debut, even though she was nervous, it seemed like she really wanted to take in the sights of Tokyo and walk around and kind of get a lay of the land, hop on some trains, go to a club, go to the famous Ribera Steakhouse, and get the jacket that every wrestler gets, that's usually, I mean, wrestlers, like they are, you know, the top tier wrestlers around the world. They get to go to this famous steakhouse and be graced with the jacket that they've seen their heroes wear in the wrestling world, and they get to get that honor. I'm pretty sure that even with how nervous she was, that must have been something off her bucket list that she was able to check off. You can just see how happy she was to be able to don that jacket. And I feel like her taking time before the event to come and really be around the environment of people that are now going to welcome her into this this new journey in her wrestling career in Tokyo. I think it was very important that she went and absorbed the culture around her to kind of set it off that this is a new chapter in her career. And the beginning of this mini documentary, you can see Mercedes being so excited to know that Bailey and Naomi were going to actually be at the Wrestle Kingdom event to show that support. And you can just see how emotional she was getting, knowing that she was having this type of support from not just friends, because they're truly her friends, but there's a sisterhood that comes with being backstage, having some of our best matches with these two ladies, and knowing that they get it, you know, they get what her mind must be going through getting into this type of match, and they just want to be there for her. So I thought that was really sweet, how even as Mercedes is talking about how nervous she is, and she's really mentally preparing for what she's walking into, you can see that she's looking at her phone and she's getting text messages from both the women that are making it clear, yeah, we're on our way, we're getting on the flight right now, and they're helping her to feel comfortable that she's going to have her support system there. And Mercedes talks about Tamina taking a virtual shot with her on I'm assuming a video chat to toast this huge moment in Mercedes' career, how much that meant to her, and even having Triple H send her a message of support, letting her know that, you know, he's really proud of this journey that she's on. And I think that probably meant a whole lot to her, considering the fact that she has admired and worked with Triple H to really build up her character, especially when she was in NXT. she really formed who she was with the Sasha Banks character, and to know that Triple H completely supports this journey that she's on, especially because from a performer to performer standpoint, Triple H would, I'm sure, understand why this was something important to Mercedes to feel like, you know what, I'm stretching myself out to see what type of experiences I can have, even outside of WWE, and not always wonder what if. So I'm pretty sure that meant a lot to Mercedes. And Mercedes gets really emotional thinking about how she had to search for who she was after leaving WWE. She had to find out who she was outside of the Sasha Banks character to create what type of wrestler and character and performer she would be now. And the way that she put it was that Sasha Banks was who her childhood self would want to be. Now she has graduated from a boss to a CEO. And I just love the perspective of how she can kind of look outside of herself and see why it was beneficial to be to have the Sasha Banks character, but now why it's beneficial to her now with all of her experiences that she has gained to now be Mercedes Mone. So I thought that was an insightful look and evaluation of where she is now as a performer and a wrestler. And Mercedes gets really bubbly and super girly thinking about Naomi arriving. She gets really excited as she gets the text that Naomi has arrived. And it's just such a cute moment seeing her arrive at the airport, and even joking that there's no way she can miss Naomi because first off, she's probably the only Black woman that will be around, and of course, how can you miss that big butt? And just showing like how close they are, where they can make jokes like that with each other, and then seeing them just run at each other when they finally meet at the airport was so cute because you just see this genuine friendship that lasted over, I'm pretty sure, the past 9 months of them possibly hearing things about themselves, especially with how WWE was initially covering their exit out of the company and how it seems like they didn't grow apart over the time and go to separate ways, but they continue to have a lasting friendship, a lasting sisterhood that clearly continues to go on. So that was just a really cute moment in the mini documentary. And we see the next day that the black hair disappears and the flamed haired Mercedes Mone appears. And it's such a cool transformation in both look and demeanor of Mercedes. There is no more questioning about whether she's ready for this. You see the full determination that she is going to make a splash in New Japan Pro Wrestling, and she's ready. She has her game face on. And we see this really good footage, awesome footage of Mercedes walking through the Tokyo Dome Arena hours before the event begins. And she's truly in awe of finally being able to participate in a New Japan Pro Wrestling show, a promotion that she has loved her entire career. And during this time of her being backstage and continuing to get ready, she comes face to face with Kenny Omega as she was excited to be one of the first people there. And as she was getting ready, you see that Kenny is also excited because he thinks that he's the first person there. And they kind of bump into each other, and they're both really excited to talk to each other. And Kenny is just really happy to see her there because he loves seeing the kinship of someone else that has worked for a major company but really continues to have a passion for wrestling in Japan. And he was really happy to see her there. So that was just a really cool moment to see that she was being embraced. That was the first person that she really came into contact with being backstage and having that moment where Kenny was really just welcoming her, and was really cool to see. And she was able to rehearse walking down the long ramp and just getting a taste of the atmosphere. You have Zack Sabre Jr., TJ Perkins, Carl Anderson, Okada and Tanahashi, among others, just showing her so much love and embracing her and giving her a warm welcome. And I'm pretty sure that that must have felt like a dream for her to be able to have, especially because this is a male promotion, and for her to have that respect of her peers when sometimes, especially women's wrestlers, they don't always get that, even though this is a new era and that's becoming less common, thank God, for male wrestlers to kind of feel a certain way when they have women on the roster. That's becoming a bygone thing, not fully, but mostly. So it was nice to see such established male rosters from the New Japan wrestling promotion really embrace that Mercedes was there. And there was a calmness that hit Mercedes as she knew that she was going to go out to debut. And it seemed like after, as we know, everything that went on with the debut, there was almost this feeling or look that she was quite numb after making her debut, because it just seemed like she was, trying to absorb everything that happened and kind of come back down to earth after, I'm sure, such a big high of walking out there, making your debut, issuing the challenge to Kyrie, and really just focusing on the fact that now she's in the stage where she has to prepare to really get into this match and think about what's to come. So I thought this was a really great documentary to showcase what Mercedes was going through, getting ready for a debut, what it looked like to be in the Wrestle Kingdom 17 environment, and what she was, excuse me, look, stuff happens, what she was going through, thinking about this Battle in the Valley pay-per-view happening. Like now she's in the stage where the challenge has been issued, and now she got to get everybody prepared to be excited for this event. And honestly, after the announcement, she didn't really need to do that much to get everyone excited, because as we know, 4 days after the Battle in the Valley pay-per-view was announced, tickets were sold out just based on this one match being announced. And that is a big deal, especially as the IWGP women's title is still being established. So it's very important to get those kind of numbers, get that type of excitement, have an arena be sold out in that quick of a time with just one event, which is, it should always be the goal that the main event should be able to be strong enough to sell out an event. The other matches are so important, but that main event needs to show and prove why it's the main event. Why is it going to be the biggest draw of the night? And just with these two women standing toe to toe with each other at Wrestle Kingdom 17, they already showed that they were the main event in every way. And for that to be, for, as I said, New Japan Pro Wrestling is an all men's promotion. For these women to sell out the Battle in the Valley event was a big deal. And it continues to show that Joshi Wrestling will continue to have this tradition of being able to sell out shows on their own with very prominent women's wrestlers that can sell out packed houses. So it was very exciting as a fan to see that 4 days after that announcement happened for the Battle in the Valley event, that it was sold out. So now we're on the path as we continue to get closer to this event, and it leads up to the press conference where Mercedes' head is after making her debut, having some interviews to talk about her experience so far being in Japan, and knowing that this is a very important match because a lot of eyes are going to be on her, and a lot of eyes are going to be trying to see how well she does in this match, and she knew that. So I'm pretty sure there was another set of nerves going into this about, yes, I made my debut. Everyone sees that I'm in New Japan in this capacity to win the IWGP title, women's title, but I need to prove why I'm even in this match, because regardless of everything, that Mercedes had established as the Sasha Banks character. As we know, you can have all that success in that arena, but if you leave the company, you have to prove all over again why you're worthy to be able to hold the title. And she was fully ready for that. So this leads us to the Battle in the Valley press conference, which was held on the Friday, the night before the pay-per-view. And Mercedes came out very confident that she would leave San Jose with the title. She stated that when the crowning of the women's IWGP title was announced, she immediately had her eyes on it. And because of the 9 months that she was away, she was looking forward to gaining a new baby with winning that title after this match. And you could see throughout the press conference that Kyrie was very respectful, listening and taking in what Mercedes was saying. But when it was her turn to talk, she was making it clear that that IWGP title was hers and she wasn't parting with it. So as they're taking their photo op, Miss Mone decides to snatch the title from Kyrie when they're trying to take their pictures. And Kyrie just snatches it back in a calm but commanding stare down that she gave Mercedes that caused Mercedes to back away and understand that the time was not yet here for them to have this battle of the what should I say? I would say the battle of the giants in this case, because to me, they are giants in the business. When you have someone like Mercedes that is that decorated as a champion, you have someone that not only in Kyrie's case was successful already in Japan before she came to WWE, but then she made a huge name for herself in WWE, which is not a small feat. Going to another country and really establishing yourself is not an easy thing. And Kyrie did that in both Japan and in America. And I really think that she deserves her flowers for how freaking talented she is and how she is able to go to several promotions and be on top. So these are two giants in the business. And I think that the type of respect that Kyrie showed during the press conference while still making it clear, even though I respect you, even though I'm really happy to have this bout with you, this is my title and I'm not giving it up. And Mercedes just making it clear that she already has in her mind, I have really blossomed during these 9 months that I've been away. So I need that title to help me to continue to feel that I am on the right path and that I am gaining something from these 9 months of going through a lot of really transforming myself. So I thought that was a nice last touch to move into this battle in the valley match. It really set the tone that both women strongly felt that after this match, they were going to walk out as champion. So now we move into what everyone had been waiting for since the Wrestle Kingdom 17 collision between Kyrie and Mercedes, which is this match for the IWGP title. This was a crazy Saturday because not only did we have the Battle in the Valley match, but yeah, we had Elimination Chamber the same night around the same time, because usually sometimes you'll get popular promotions that might have an event and the same night as the WWE pay-per-view, but many times they would have their events a bit earlier in the day, maybe around 3, 4, to kind of give wrestling fans the ability to not feel that they have to choose which promotion they want to watch. But in this case, you had to be the fan that was using like your TV, but then also using a mobile device or a tablet to kind of keep up with both promotions. So I know that was certainly what I was doing. And I even told myself after a hell of an Elimination Chamber pay-per-view. To me, probably one of the best Elimination Chamber pay-per-views they ever had. I had to tell myself, look, I've absorbed a lot of wrestling tonight, so I might have to just wait until the morning, not go on social media, and then watch Battle in the Valley. But I feel that this pay-per-view did not disappoint. They had a very stacked card. So for Kyrie and Mercedes to be that high up on the card, you knew they had to deliver, and deliver they did. So let's get into this Battle in the Valley match between Kyrie and Mercedes. Both women have amazing entrances, and I want to say kudos to Mercedes for wearing the gear that paid homage to the late great Hana Kimura. It was such a classy move, and it really shows the respect that Mercedes had for the greats that made up the illustrious history of Joshi wrestling, and Hana is certainly on top of that list. She has such a short career, but I really think it's understated how much she did for Stardom Wrestling during that time, how she was making an impact in Ring of Honor as well, where a lot of people felt like she would be on the top of the list for this different era that you saw in women's wrestling globally. She was able to resonate with wrestling fans all over the world. And just like I stated before, what you see with Kyrie, not everyone can have that type of impact globally. They might be able to find their shtick maybe in Japan, but not necessarily resonate with American fans, or a lot of American wrestlers can't do the same in other countries. But Hana was certainly one of them. So I thought it was amazing that Mercedes decided to pay that nice tribute to her. Hana's mother was very, very appreciative of Mercedes paying that homage to her. And it's certainly, if you obviously were a fan of Joshi wrestling, you immediately knew when Mercedes came out who she was paying tribute to, and it was just such a classy move. So I just wanted to make sure that I spotlighted that with the amazing entrances that both women had. And Kyrie came out, and I always take a moment to take in Kyrie's entrance. She's just an amazing overall performer, and she really presents herself as someone that is a main eventer. So it was nice to see both women have these amazing entrances and really set the tone that this was a main event match. And it was mentioned before that both women have only met once in solo action, which was in WWE, and that match ended in a disqualification. So I'm sure that both women wanted to prove that they could win this matchup fair and square and get a solidified winner, not by a disqualification, but just have it called down the middle. And they were both aching to, one, for Kyrie to keep the title, and for Mercedes to gain this prestigious title. As both women got into the ring, they were face to face. We already had "This is awesome" chant that started before these women even locked up. But they start off the match, classic lock up, a few arm holds help to kick it off. And there's a moment in the beginning where Mercedes already feels like she won the match. She almost gets a face lock in, and she kind of taunts Kyrie with holding her hands up like this to make it very clear it was just this close before she won. So I'm pretty sure all that respect and admiration was still there, but Kyrie knew she had to put Mercedes in her place a little bit. And you see that Mercedes really started to feel herself already, but Kyrie takes over and hits a flying head scissors and drop kick to take this match outside for a bit. And an open hand chop that Kyrie gives really sends Mercedes into an aggressive mode as she starts to deliver some chops as well. You see some crisp lucha libre moves on full display from Mercedes, and I love that with this iteration of Mercedes, she's really putting a lot of different styles that she's admired over the past few years on full display. And obviously, as much as she loves Joshi wrestling, she's also stated for a long time that she is a big Lucha Libre fan. So it was really cool to see that on display. And Mercedes takes over the match by kind of working on the arm of Kyrie, a nasty set of kicks to Kyrie's chest as she does this. Having Kyrie upside down on a turnbuckle was awesome to see. because you kind of get that look back into how vicious Mercedes can be in a match where she feels like her opponent might be trying to take control over it. We saw that viciousness when she fought Bayley. And I just love when Mercedes has those moments where that peaks out, where you really start seeing how vicious Mercedes would get to either keep her title or to win one. And Kyrie counters potential back to the arm by reversing it and kind of damaging the arm of Mercedes for a little bit just to gain a bit of control. And that gave Kyrie the boost of energy that she needed. And a figure four and control of Mercedes' left arm really shows that Kyrie is just as cunning in the match. And I think that one of Kyrie's strengths is that you never really see Kyrie sweat. She's always in control of what's going on around her. And even when there are times where her opponent might gain a leg up, she's just waiting for an opening. And I think that is so brilliant on Kyrie's end. She's just so calculated and calm. So you have two flying double knees down to the floor from Mercedes that really dazzles the crowd toward the middle of the match, but it does not give her the win just yet. Monet starts to let her frustration show. And just like I said, being calm, being cool, continuing to see through and really believe that you can still win the match is a strength for Kyrie. It is not one of Monet's strengths. She always lets her emotions show. And that's something that I feel that Kyrie was playing on. And I thought that was cool that they were showing throughout the match that you couldn't really get a gauge of how Kyrie felt. She was always in control. And both women would not give up. They would not give in. And Kyrie puts on a figure four lock that almost has Mercedes out for the count. But Mercedes gets out of the hold and puts on a crossface that sends the crowd over the edge. I mean, this San Jose crowd was so hyped. It was just such a great crowd to have this match in. I think especially with the type of entertainment that New Japan Pro Wrestling gives, I think they really thrive when they have their American shows to have it in California. It's just such a great crowd that they get every time. And the crowd was with these women with every single move that they did, that it felt like they were a third opponent in this match. They were just so here for everything. The commentary was great as well. So we have Mercedes put on this crossface, an amazing crossface, by the way. But Kyrie continues to show composure throughout it all, and she delivers a hell of a back fist to take Mercedes out for a bit. That gives her some time. But after this back fist and after Mercedes is able to recover, she does an amazing belly to belly, which we know has to be a wink to Bayley, who was ringside to support Mercedes in this match as well. And the crowd went crazy. I'm pretty sure a lot of them were looking in the direction of where Bayley was sitting, because this was an awesome tribute to Bayley. And this does not take out Kyrie. And you can clearly see that Mercedes is frustrated, but she pulls off a really amazing twisting suplex that also got the crowd going wild. And both women are recovering. They get up, they're crawling, they're on their knees, they're face to face, and they deliver some hard punches to each other until Kyrie accidentally hits the ref. An accident that Mercedes made sure she helped to make happen. And you can see through all of the composure that Kyrie had in this match, this kind of breaks her a bit, because she is not one for cheating to try to get a match. And as you can see, that bit of composure kind of crack a bit. She drags Mercedes to the entrance ramp, but Mercedes blocks Kyrie's move and decides to bring out a table, all to the excitement of the fans. Unfortunately, Kyrie counters Monet's attack and power bombs her through the table. And this leads to the usual holy shit chant from an amped up crowd. So it shows you that there has just been so many curves and twists and turns in this match that it has completely amped up the crowd. But damn, you feel like, is there anything that these women will not do to win this match? I mean, you are really spent, seeing all of these different things that these women would do, taking complete disregard for their body to prove that this title does mean that much. So, right after this amazing table spot, Kyrie takes to the sky after both women get back into the ring, and she tries to get her finishing elbow down so that she can keep her belt. But Mercedes puts the legs up to counter, and then she decides to go on the top rope and deliver a frog splash from the top rope. But right after that, Kyrie lays on a crossface of her own, but she still can't get the win. Mercedes is able to get her moneymaker finisher in, the move that everyone was hating on after Wrestle Kingdom 17, that both women were able to pull off brilliantly, and she wins the IWGP Women's Championship to a very loud, excited crowd. I personally don't think that there could have been a better place, a better audience, and honestly, a better night to have Mercedes win this title. As someone that is a big fan of Stardom, is a big fan of Joshi Wrestling, and is a huge fan of Kyrie, it was a bit difficult seeing her win the title, especially because Kyrie did not hold the title long. And outside of the many reasons from a business point of view that made sense for Mercedes to win the title, there is a part of me that felt like maybe there could have been 3 matches that this woman could have had where Kyrie kept the title, and maybe in the third match she could have lost the title to stretch out this feud, because even what you saw in this match, these women have amazing chemistry, and they can definitely bring a lot of money to the table with continuously having sellout shows and have the main event these shows. So even though I was very excited to see Mercedes win the title, because clearly with this phenomenal match that she pulled off, she's certainly deserving of it. I felt like Kyrie deserved more when it came to her being the inaugural champion, and her really being the face of, I feel, this new era of Joshi Wrestling is, and who would be like the leaders of this new era. But I think that that's really it's a small I wouldn't even say complaint. It was just like hopeful, that maybe this feud could stretch out while Kyrie still holds the title, and really makes it clear that there are a lot of steps that Mercedes has to take as someone that's a newcomer to Japan has to take to actually get that title off of Kyrie. I think that that would have been great storytelling, but this was a brilliant match. And so far, because we don't know if the feud is going to continue, I think that even with Mercedes having the title, they can still have a really great feud. And this was, in my opinion, we haven't seen all of 2023. This is one of my favorite matches of the year so far. I highly recommend this match to anyone that wants to see full Joshi wrestling style on display, to see Lucha Libre on display, and see some American style on display. It was just such a good match. And it really showed that Mercedes was very good at trusting her instincts, that this would be a great move in this stage of her career, of really just grabbing life by the horns and saying, you know what, I have this strong desire to really just go and do her world tour and explore different companies that she may have had her eye on, and to wrestle people that she would not get the chance to unless she left WWE at the time. So she certainly had the right to trust her instincts, because this match just proves that there's so much that Mercedes still has to do. And I loved after this match that You see in the backstage interviews that Kyrie is the ultimate professional, as she is clearly in tears and she's heartbroken that she lost the title, but she still sings the praises of Mercedes and how happy she was that they were able to compete. And just like she said, she felt like they really changed the game, really with what they did in the ring. And they really are setting a great tone for what women's wrestling is going to be in 2023. So you can see that genuine excitement that Kyrie has for what they created in the ring that night. But you can see that heartbreak that she has, that she had to give up that IWGP title so soon in her run. And on the flip side, you see the interview from Mercedes where she is glowing and she's on cloud nine and she's so happy with the results, and she fulfilled her dream of gaining that new baby with that belt on her shoulder that she was happy to display. And she even joked about how Kyrie just really took it to her and caused all of the nails on her, I believe it was her left hand, to be broken, and how she almost took off Mercedes' wig during the match. And just having that, seeing that fun, excited Mercedes was really cool. And how she even admitted, I think it was probably the day before, or I think maybe before the press conference, Mercedes was so nervous that she actually threw up because she was just so nervous about whether she can meet the expectations of what people are expecting with this match. And she certainly proved that they pulled it off and they exceeded everyone's expectations. So to see her kind of be on that high of knowing that the match is over, that it was that great of a match, and that she was able to do that type of match with someone that she respects very much, and how she has made it clear this is just the beginning, was really awesome to see. But now it leaves questions to where Mercedes might be next. Who might she fight next? As I'm expecting with the IWGP title, it is a title that could possibly be defended anywhere. I know that recently Taya Valkyrie was asked during an interview what she would feel about Mercedes coming to Impact. Impact has been known to have a great standing relationship with different promotions from Japan, and they have participated in having events that allow these dream matches with people from other promotions to come together for an event. So we never know where we could possibly see the IWGP Women's title be defended. So the world is really Mercedes' oyster right now, and we're just seeing the beginning of her New Japan pro wrestling journey, possibly a stardom journey that she can have when she could take the belt there and start seeing what women she can compete with. She could possibly continue her feud with Kyrie. We don't know. And I think that's actually a really exciting thing, that it really leaves the door open to what Mercedes will want to do and what options are there. And I think that those options just skyrocketed after this amazing match that she's had. So I really love that this happened during this month, because it's going to show not only the great state of women's wrestling that we have at this beginning part of the year, but it's also showing the great Black excellence that you're seeing in wrestling right now. You're starting to see an uptick of a lot of Black women being able to make their names known in Japan, as now they are in demand. Being able to perform in a lot of Japan tours for the different women's wrestling promotions. So it's really great to see this influx of possibilities be available for Black women's wrestlers, because they certainly deserve it. They're certainly bringing it. We see women like Janai Kai, Trish Adora having some of Queen Aminata have some of their first Japan tours this year. And then obviously to see what Mercedes just did with winning the IWGP title, it is showing that the world really is their oyster in this wrestling business. And I'm really excited to cover it. We have another exciting week of wrestling this week. Today, as I'm recording this, Impact will have their pay-per-view. So they're always very consistent with having strong showings for the knockouts division. So who knows, what would be covered next week, because we are just in a really, really good spot with women's wrestling right now. But this is the end of this episode. As I said, I really recommend that if you have already watched the Battle in the Valley matchup between Mercedes and Kyrie, that you check out Mercedes' YouTube channel, because that mini documentary really gave a bit of insight into her journey in New Japan so far, and it was just a treat to watch as a fan. It's very personal, just very insightful, and also really hopeful to show you like how she's excited about this new journey. So I really recommend that you check that out. But we are getting closer and closer to the end of February, so we're going to try to end off the very short beginning of next week with something that helps to close out this Black History Month themed time for Ladies Wrestling Grio. And I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope you keep talking about women's wrestling and spreading the word about some great things that you have seen in wrestling, and women's wrestling this week. And I hope you come back next week. Bye.